Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Need a powerful and entertaining way to ignite your next conference, retreat, or team building session? My keynotes don't include magic, but they do have the power to help your attendees take a leap forward by putting emotional intelligence into their employee engagement, and customer-centric leadership practices. So bring the infotainment creativity of the Fast Leader Show to your next event. Go to beyondmorale.com/speaking to learn more. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I have somebody on the show who impressed me so much when we met through LinkedIn that I just had to have him on the show and introduce him to you. Jermaine Edwards is a London-born basketball fanatic who grew up in a Jamaican family household with 3 younger brothers and a firm understanding of the principle, you have to work to eat. Leaving home at 17, he went on to eventually study applied economics and German at the University of Kingston in Surrey in the UK. To keep things interesting, he decided to live abroad in Germany to finish his studies. While there, and speaking next to no German, he almost became homeless and out of necessity started his first real business running a dance studio and marketing local student events. This experience led to Jermaine's passion to want to learn how to sell and pursue personal growth. After meeting his South Carolinian wife and having his first child, he was headhunted for a role at an international publishing company. He kickstarted their first digital advertising website for recruitment in the print and packaging industry. Forward more than 10 years, he has 4 kids, has lived in 4 countries, and has had a successful career in sales and sales management, interacting with thousands of professionals and selling millions in services. Currently, Jermaine is starting one of his most ambitious projects to help 50 young fathers launch a business in 12 months. He runs the company, The Key Account Hack, helping account management teams, managers, solopreneurs, and businesses retain their key customers and grow massive sales from their high-value customers. Jermaine currently resides in London, England, with an imminent relocation to Columbia, South Carolina, with his wife, Heather, and kids, Sean, Kaya, Indiana, and Amelia. Jermaine Edwards, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
You're damn right.
All right. Well, I've given our listeners a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd be, if my wife was here, she'd ask me to give the cliche of my family, and it is definitely my current passion. But as for business, it is my current business, the Key Account Hack, and helping really a lot of businesses have more profitable conversations with their customers and grow their sales in a more significant way. And that funds my other passion, which is the Fatherpreneur Network, which is really helping a number of fathers kind of walk into greatness in their own fatherhood, but also launch their own business to support their families.
And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is, first of all, when I had the opportunity to actually meet with you, I was very impressed by you're a young man. I mean, you have 4 young kids, but, I got you by several years. But I was very impressed by your poise, your understanding of things from a holistic perspective, your obvious resilience when you look at what you've been able to, accomplish at that young age. But also when I start thinking about people who are even working in organizations, they have to think a little bit more along those lines of solopreneur, but working in a team environment. And what I mean by that is we all have to compete for resources. And when you start talking about competing for resources in an ethical manner, we have to essentially have our ideas, our projects, our goals and objectives, be something that people are wanting to participate in. Because even if we're talking about their time, not even their money, time is something that we can never make more of. And it's so precious to us that I need to be able to, sell internally in order for it to move everything forward. So when you start thinking about people both inside and outside an organization and that whole being better at selling, what's one hump that you would say people really have to get over?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think part of this is the conflict between commission and conversation. It's recognizing that everything rests in relationships. And if you focus on the money first, you're likely to fail fairly quickly. But if you focus on the relationship, you're likely to get there even quicker.
That's a great point, because oftentimes when I see folks who are essentially trying to create their business plan or business project, or, they're trying to sell that idea for senior level folks to invest in, they are doing just that. They're looking at the money piece. And it's, hey, we can save this. You only have to spend that. Here's your ROI. I mean, this whole business case thing, it seems to me like it is just too focused on that whole money piece. So if you were to say the relationship, what are, something, one thing, two things that you see could immediately help people get their programs or projects sold?
Yeah, I'd say focus on building trust and amplifying that at every single touch point you have with your customers. What I mean by that is often we think of trust as something we do on this one scale of attention. So in over time, but we don't really actually think about what that actually means practically on a day-to-day basis or in the interactions we have with customers. So what I say is, in terms of amplifying trust, you need to find ways in which you can build trust that is appropriate and acceptable to that person. So that for that person, you could simply ask the question, what for you is the most important thing with working with a partner? And based on that, they'll give you the qualities they're looking for. And through that, you can demonstrate those qualities and actually build trust very, very quickly by not just demonstrating those qualities, but doing that often enough that you begin to build the brand and recognition that they need in order to feel comfortable making a decision with you.
That's a very good point. Sometimes for me, I have to watch myself because people say that I'm direct. I'm known for being direct, get to the point. But there's also, if I'm not careful, I can overuse that, right? And so I have to, soften it as much as I possibly can. But I think for me, when I heard you saying what you're saying, is that you need to be direct in regards to what person or what those people perceive they need. And that's a key point is the perception that I need this in order for me to have trust. And again, though, I think that people will say that, well, I need to see the numbers, but is it really the numbers?
No, I don't think it is. I think everybody has an expectation of, if I could take a step back here and say that each of us has an expectation of what is required of our business. But the reality is that there's an internal conversation happening with your customers in every interaction we have. And it's to do with just how we're made up as human beings. We're looking to feel secure that this person is somebody who can deliver on what they say. And so there's really this connection between what I'm logically hearing, but also what I'm experiencing and feeling from this person. And so it's important that as you're even delivering the numbers, that it's delivered in a way that offers security, both to the external voice around credibility, but also to the internal voice of, do you feel safe?
Thanks for sharing that. And for me, on the show, we use quotes a lot of times to help us, have some confidence and trust in the action that we're about to take, or maybe even trust in that the action we took was not the best one. Is there a quote or two for you that you can share that helps you feel more confident?
Yeah, I think it's a quote that I've shared with me a little while back by a mentor, but he simply said to think of serving first and solution second. And for me, the reason why that gives, I guess for me, it offers some sentiment of confidence is that there's no pressure in me trying to sell something. I'm simply trying to help as much as possible. So I start with serving, seeing where the opportunity for me to help is without any monetary compensation, and then move to solution once we've agreed that I'm the right person. So I take the pressure off completely, simply focus on serving, and that solution comes in next.
Thanks for sharing that. I have this conversation often, and I say that, sales, winning, many of the things that are the positive gains that we're ultimately trying to obtain are really consequences. And what I mean by that is, consequences, unfortunately, has gotten a real negative connotation, wrapped around it, because we talk about those in a punitive way. Well, that's the consequence that you get for, behaving incorrectly. However, consequences can be good too. And we have to focus on the fundamentals, because the fundamentals create our consequences. And then the consequences could be, guess what? more sales, your project gets approved, you get a promotion. I mean, all of those things are positive consequences. So thanks for sharing that. Now, I know, leaving the house at 17, I think you even spent some time on your grandfather's farm in Jamaica.
That was a lot of fun.
You and your wife getting evicted when you had a young child, and then turning around and actually finding a better place and making some income fast because you were able to do some things that are very, just focused on moving things forward instead of, living in woe. Gosh, you had a lot of humps to get over. I mean, Is there a time where you can actually share a story where you've had to get over a hump and it really set you in a much better direction? Can you share it with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So one that really sticks out in my mind is where I was making a decision. I started my first side business, working with a number of health and pharmaceutical organizations. And when I began it, I was doing that kind of part-time. It was my first kind of entrepreneurial step of doing some work that was meaningful and something that I thought I wanted at the time. And what had quickly become evident is that this specific business was not going to be something that was profitable. But I had a number of different clients that were really interested in still doing work with me, but it just wasn't sustainable. And so I had this real conflict between, do I keep doing it, but kind of wasting time and not really being profitable with this business, or do I just cut it right now and potentially damage some of the relationships I built in terms of the service I'm offering? And it got to a stage where, speaking with my wife and other people, I was given this particular quote, and I kind of share this. And it's a guy, somebody I know really well, just told me to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. And for me, the hard right was the right thing to do was to say no to the work and not take the easy wrong, which is just saying yes to the work, but actually it not benefiting anybody in the long term. And so taking that particular step, wow, that was a tough one. And in fact, you get to know exactly who you're really in relationship with and who you don't in those hard moments. But I ended up having to move that business on. And some of those relationships I've kept and some of them haven't. But that was a really tough hump to get over.
Thanks for sharing that. There's something that stood out to me as you were telling that story, because when you start looking at entrepreneurs, the ones that are successful, one of the things that they have the ability to do is shift. Here's I think where the dilemma comes into play is that you also need resilience, and you need to know when to continue to move on. So there's kind of this crossroads that takes place at the point between, okay, I've shifted or I've exhausted all of my shifts, and you know what, I need to bail. I mean, or push on. I mean, so for you, how were you able to come to the conclusion that, you know what, I need to quit this?
Yeah, it took some time, if I'm honest. It didn't happen right away. It took a few months. But I think what I did differently than perhaps other circumstances was I sat down and I simply said, what's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen with me making this choice and this choice? And so I said, if I stayed, I'd lose money and I could potentially put my finances at risk because this just wasn't a profitable venture. But if I said no and decided to leave it, I could potentially lose some relationships, but I'd probably maintain most, and I'd be able to work on things that I love. And so it was a fairly easy choice after asking that question, and then just taking action after that.
So for me, hearing you talk about that, you essentially were creating a decision matrix.
Absolutely. A kind of a criteria for making that particular decision.
I think it's funny that you even mentioned that too, because that's kind of how my wife said that why she said yes when I asked her to marry her, is that she had a decision matrix.
What's the worst that could happen?
But
I love that.
That's what happens when you marry an accountant. All right. So I know you have a lot of things going on. You talked about, the helping 50 fathers start businesses. I mean, you're talking about the upcoming relocation to where your wife's from.
That's correct.
In South Carolina. Yeah, I mean, the 4 kids, I mean, goodness. I mean, you have a lot of things on your plate. So when you start thinking about all these things, what are some of your goals?
Yeah, so I think some of the main goals right now, so the biggest ones for me is to impact 10,000 sales and account managers in the next 5 years. So helping them have more profitable conversations and really changing the landscape around how sales professionals view and look at and experience client relationships. So that's a big, big one for me. And the second is, I was just going back to the father's piece, is having this business be successful. And really seeing transformation of young fathers in my particular area in the city, from the perspective of getting young guys to think of other really kind of practical alternative ways in which they can begin to support their families and create meaning and create success with significance at the same time.
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing with that work, because there was a statistic that I came across a couple of weeks ago that it was talking about, you talked about young fathers or just young people. And this is really looking at folks that are under 30 years of age. And it was talking about the percentage of folks that actually started businesses, started small businesses. And just as recently as like 10 years ago, it was almost double digit, at least here in the States, double digit percentages of people that were actually starting businesses. And now it's down to like under 3%.
Whoa.
So there's a lot of support and help that folks need in that particular area in order for us to grow the overall economy. So the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader listeners. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Jermaine, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us some robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Jermaine Edwards, are you ready to hoe down?
I'm ready.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Feeling that I need to know more.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
It's not about you. It's about others.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I know when I need help.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
I'm not sure if it's a tool I could say, but I definitely would advocate just having people you're accountable to.
What would be one book, and it could be from any genre, that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Well, it's a brand new book. It's The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. Has fantastic insights around how you manage culture and lead successfully in it.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Jermaine Edwards. Okay, Jermaine, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you. But you can't take everything. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
Oh, gosh. So I think for me, the one skill or knowledge, I think the skill I take back right now is the skill of building relationships, building strategic relationships. And the reason for that is I've recognized that most, if not every success that I've had in my life has been connected to some kind of relationship that I've intentionally gone out to look for. So I look at areas of my specific life and I think, well, I'm lacking this particular area. I want to find somebody who's really skilled in that area and learn from them. So I think that's the thing I'd bring back to my 25-year-old self. And I'd say, hey, go out and look for people skilled in those areas that you aren't good at and get to know them really quickly and learn from them even quicker.
Jermaine, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fairly active on Twitter and LinkedIn. So we're Twitter at JSA Edwards and LinkedIn, Jermaine Edwards, and obviously my website, which is JermaineEdwards.com.
Jermaine Edwards, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.